She wasn't supposed to win either match. What Alex Eala did in Washington will give you chills. 14 aces to 4. 10 winners to 25. If I read you those two numbers and hit every name, you would swear both matches ended in defeat. You would swear the player on the losing end of those stats packed her bags and went home. She didn't. She won both matches. And by the time you finish this video, you are going to understand why the entire tennis world stopped what it was doing this week to talk about one 21-year-old from Manila who refuses to lose the way she's supposed to lose. But here's what nobody is telling you yet. The real story isn't even the tennis. There is a moment buried earlier this year, one sentence spoken in a language nobody expected her to know, that explains everything that is happening right now. And I am going to save that moment for the middle of this video, because once you hear it, you will understand why grown men in press boxes are calling this a movement instead of a winning streak. Stay with me, because the ending of this story hasn't been written yet, and what happens in her very next match could change Philippine sports history forever. Before we go there, if you are even a little bit invested in an underdog who refuses to know her place, do me one favor. Hit subscribe right now, not for me, for her. Because stories like this one don't get told enough, and the algorithm will only keep showing you the rest of her rise if you tell it to. There is a nation of tennis fans that didn't exist 5 years ago, and it exists because people like you decided to pay attention before the rest of the world caught up. Be one of them. Subscribe now, because you do not want to miss what's coming in the next few minutes. Let's start with Tuesday in Washington, D.C. Alex Eala walks out to face Zheng Qinwen. Not just any opponent. An Olympic gold medalist. A former world number 4. A player whose serve alone has ended careers on tour. Zheng starts hammering aces past her. 1. 4. 9. 14 by the end of the match. Eala manages 4. She loses the first set. She falls behind a break in the second. This is the point in the story where, for years, Alex Eala's matches used to end. Spectacular start, painful finish. The tennis world had a nickname for it. Brilliant ceiling, no floor. Not this time. She breaks straight back. Then she doesn't stop. 7 games in a row against an Olympic champion. 7 straight games where an opponent with one of the most dangerous serves in the sport simply could not find an answer. Final score, 4-6, 6-4, 6-1. Eala survived nearly 2.5 hours, got out-served the entire match, and walked off a winner. Afterward she said something simple, almost too simple for what she'd just done. She said the mindset had always been in her, she just has more tools to back it up now. You'd think that was the story of the week. It wasn't even the story of 2 days. Wednesday. Same stadium. New opponent. Leylah Fernandez, the defending Washington champion, a former US Open finalist, a player who had already beaten Eala just months earlier in Stuttgart. Fernandez comes out hitting winners like she's trying to end the match early. 25 winners by the finish, to Eala's 10. Read that stat on its own and there is no version of tennis where the player with 10 winners walks away with the trophy line. Fernandez builds a lead in the second set. 5-1. The crowd is loud, the wind is picking up, and Eala is playing on legs that competed less than 24 hours earlier against an Olympic champion. This is exactly the moment a tired 21-year-old is supposed to fold. She wins the next 5 games straight. Forces a tiebreak. And then, with the match on the line, she does the one thing that decides everything in tennis when the scoreboard says everything else should be settled, she stops missing. 2 forehand winners to close it out. Final score, 6-2, 7-6. 2 champions. 2 days. 2 matches where every single stat sheet said she should have lost. She didn't lose either one. Here's the part that should genuinely worry the rest of the WTA Tour. This wasn't luck stacked on luck. Weeks earlier on the grass courts of Berlin, Eala beat world number 2 Elena Rybakina in straight sets, then turned around 24 hours later and beat former top 10 player Eala Svitolina too. Before that, at Wimbledon, in front of a stunned center court crowd, she took down the defending Wimbledon champion, Iga Swiatek, in a first-set tiebreak that went all the way to 11-9, then closed out the second set with ease. That win made her the first Filipina in the Open era to ever reach the second week of a Grand Slam. She lost her next match to Jasmine Paolini in 3 tight sets, and for a few weeks the tennis world treated it like the story was over. It wasn't over. It was set up. Now here comes the part one promised you. Rewind past Wimbledon, past Berlin, back to a clay court in Madrid in the spring. Alex Eala had just beaten a battle-tested Russian veteran named Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova in straight sets, 6-3, 6-3, and stepped up to the on-court microphone the way every player does after a win. Thank the crowd, smile, walk off. That's the routine. That's what everyone expected. Instead, midway through her answer, in front of a Spanish crowd in the heart of Madrid, she switched languages. Fluently. Warmly. Without hesitation. She told the stadium, in Spanish, that every time she comes back to that city she feels at home. She talked about the 8 years she has spent living and training in Spain since she was 13 years old, at the Rafa Nadal Academy, under the watchful eye of Tony Nadal himself, the man who coached his nephew Rafael to 22 Grand Slam titles. The crowd didn't just clap politely. They roared. Here's why that moment traveled further than any tennis score ever could. Spanish used to be the official language of the Philippines for over 300 years, before the country lost that official status in 1987. Most Filipinos today have no connection to it at all. When a 21-year-old from Manila stands in Spain and speaks the language fluently, unprompted, she isn't performing. She's reclaiming something her whole country was cut off from generations ago. Clips of that interview spread across Filipino social media within a day. And the WTA's own website noticed too, publishing an article comparing her Spanish skills favorably to a top 5 European star who had also tried her hand at a few phrases in the same city and quickly asked to switch back to English. That's the player underneath the tennis. Not just someone with a big serve and a dangerous forehand. Someone who can charm a Spanish crowd on a Wednesday, then walk onto center court at Wimbledon 3 months later and dismantle a defending champion in front of the entire tennis world. 3 languages. 3 completely different audiences. One athlete who refuses to be boxed into any of them. So why does any of this matter right now, this week, in Washington? Because the tournament chairman himself, Mark Qinwen, said something on record that should stop you in your tracks. He said that over the last month, at least 80% of ticket inquiries for the entire Mubadala DC Open, an event stacked with Grand Slam champions and top 10 stars, have been people asking one single question. When is Alex Eala playing? Not if. Not who else. Just her. Andy Roddick, a former world number 1 himself, put it even more bluntly. He said it used to be a fun story. Now, in his words, it's a very real story and a phenomenon, and the tennis world should be thankful for it. But here is where I need you to lean in, because this is the part of the story nobody can answer yet. For all of this, the Grand Slam upsets, the viral Spanish interview, the 80% ticket demand, the wins over Olympic champions and defending champions in back-to-back days, there is still one box that remains completely empty on Alex Eala's resume. She has never won a full WTA Tour-level title. Not one. She came agonizingly close at Eastbourne in 2025, 2 points from the trophy, and could not close it out. She has won at the lower WTA 125 level, in Guadalajara and in Birmingham, but the top tier, the one that changes how a career is remembered, has slipped through her hands every single time it's been within reach. And that is exactly the question hanging over her right now, this week, in Washington. Because after beating an Olympic champion and a defending champion back-to-back, Alex Eala is not done. She has already booked her place in the quarterfinals, one step further than she has ever been able to push in a tournament of this size, with a path that could put her across the net from a top 10 seed for a place in the Final Four. Every match from here changes the number next to her name. She entered this tournament ranked 28th in the world. The top 20, once unthinkable for a Filipino player, is suddenly not a fantasy anymore. So here is the question I want you sitting with as this video ends, because none of us know the answer yet. Can the player who just outlasted an Olympic gold medalist and outwilled a defending champion, in back-to-back matches, on tired legs, finally do the one thing she has never done in her career and walk away from a tour-level final as the champion instead of the runner-up? Or will Washington become one more chapter in a career full of unforgettable near-misses? We are about to find out, and I am not going anywhere until we do. If this story pulled you in even a little, subscribe now, because the next chapter of this could be filmed in the next 48 hours, and you do not want to hear about it secondhand after everyone else already knows how it ends. Turn on notifications, drop your prediction in the comments, and let's watch this together, point by point, all the way to whatever happens next.